It's me again, Rochelle Rubio, for today's episode of The Advocates, Empowering Voices, on 104.3 The Capital. We've featured several animal welfare advocates in the past, but for the first time, we shine the spotlight on someone who champions the protection of dolphins and other wildlife, both terrestrial and aquatic. She and her team are also fierce advocates for environmental conservation, actively fighting against plastic pollution and more. Meet Ms. Trixie Concepcion, Regional Director of Earth Island Institute Asia Pacific. How do they protect the welfare of wild animals and Mother Nature? Listen and be inspired. This is The Advocates. When it comes to wildlife protection and environmental conservation, you can count on them to be at the forefront, fighting for animals and for Mother Nature, who cannot speak for themselves. Earth Island Institute is a global organization committed to the welfare of wildlife and the environment. In the Philippines, its mission is championed by Ms. Trixie Concepcion, a passionate environmentalist and marine wildlife advocate who serves as the Regional Director for Earth Island Institute Asia Pacific.
Earth Island Institute is a international environmental organization. We're also an animal welfare organization. Our headquarters is in the US, but we have a Philippine office dito sa atin. US headquarters started out with they grow projects, very small projects that's initiated by students, by mothers who just want to improve their community. So these are called grassroots projects. And our institute actually grows them to become their own separate organization. So for the Philippines, one of the big projects of Earth Island Institute in the Philippines is the International Monitoring Program or the Dolphin Safe Monitoring Program. So the Philippines kasi, we export about 80% of the tuna catch from our Philippine fleets. And the consumers, the tuna is actually consumed by people from the United States, people from Europe. They actually demand that the products they consume has an environmental seal, kumbaga sustainable. Our organization comes in to certify the tuna that it is not caught in association with dolphins, with whales, turtles, or it is not caught using gill nets or other unsustainable fishing methods. So that's the main program of Earth Island here in the Philippines.
Earth Island Institute, or EII, is composed of thousands of members worldwide. In the Philippines, Ms. Trixie Concepcion and her team not only carry out their advocacy work, they also actively raise public awareness about the reasons behind their actions.
We tell them why we're doing it. Basically, we have a program that's technically called environmental auditing. But on another scale, we want to inform people why we do environmental auditing, and it's because of the importance of protecting other species, and conserving other species. In terms of members, we have about 25,000 members globally. In the Philippines, we have almost 20,000 followers in our page. Some organizations cite us as some of the more active environmental organizations in the Philippines. Hindi sa amin galing yun. We just see it published somewhere and we're actually surprised. But thank you. We thank those who acknowledge our efforts very much.
How did Earth Island Institute start in the Philippines?
We actually boarded tuna boats to go out to the sea, go together with the fishermen, watch them how they catch tuna, and then educate them actually. It's more actually about educating fishermen who's going out there fishing, because the decisions of the fishermen out there, their actions out there dictate if a dolphin, if a turtle, or if other non-target species would survive. So that was very important. That's where we started.
But their work didn't stop with just one mission or one advocacy. Ms. Trixie also spearheaded efforts to fight against the captivity of wildlife, advocating for their freedom and protection. One of their earliest campaigns was in 1998 when they protested the use of traveling dolphins and their exploitation in dolphin shows.
When we regularized our dolphin safe tuna monitoring program, hindi kami nagkasa doon. That's not enough for us. So he said, we should advocate more for dolphins. We're not just going to be limited in one program, but we should advocate more about why dolphins used in other activity should be safe, particularly dolphins used in dolphin shows. Sabi namin, scientists have long said that wild animals, actually any kind of wild animal, it's best not to take them out of their environments because the stress for a wild animal is when you take it out of its environment, particularly dolphins. So if we take dolphins out of its environment, doon siya nagkakaroon ng health problems, adjustment problems, no? Psychological problems, which other scientists call now zoochosis. No? May nangyayari, something happens to the animal uh, when you put them in captivity. And that started the campaign of our advocacy, like 1998, I would suppose. We were just like a handful of people. I remember we picketed one traveling dolphin show in 1998 with just a handful of people. And then we started explaining why dolphins should not be put in captivity or not made to perform and all of these things. And it was very new, it's very novel at that time. And people started asking, ano ba yung dolphin? What are dolphins? Akala ko ba isda sila?
Back then, Miss Trixie and her team worked to raise awareness that dolphins are mammals, much like humans, and that removing them from their natural habitat causes immense stress. For Earth Island Institute, this practice is a clear form of animal cruelty.
They're like human beings, except that their environment is in the water. But they breathe air, they have hair, they give birth to young, they suckle their young, very much like a human being. And they are actually quite intelligent. They're an intelligent form of mammals. They have bigger
Correct.
brains than humans. So that's where it started. And then that's where people got very curious. Ano ba yung Earth Island? And then that's when we got the partnerships, more people wanting to volunteer. That's when we started our campaign for advocacy for better protection for dolphins in the Philippines. And I suppose now there's more awareness. People would be saying when you show a clip now, when I see a clip now on YouTube or whatever other platforms, and they see a dolphin show, and they said there are people now commenting saying, "Oy, di ba animal cruelty yan? You should set them free."
That campaign may have opened the public's eyes to the realities of animal cruelty. Since then, Earth Island Institute has been invited to speak in schools and deliver lectures to raise awareness about their advocacy.
In our assessment, after I think 3 decades of campaigning, we've had more or less started to change the way people think about putting wild animals in captivity. Doon kami lumaki. That's where we started. That's where we probably got some attention in media and in schools and in other institutions. So ever since then, we've had invitations to talk to schools, to talk to institutions. We've partnered up with companies for cleanups because plastics also affect a lot of marine animals. So we started that campaign as well.
Over the years of fighting against animal and environmental abuse, Ms. Trixie's team has gained many allies, but also encountered their fair share of opposition.
At the very beginning, people were saying, ano ba kayo? KJ nyo naman, Killjoy. Killjoy naman kayo, we're enjoying a dolphin show. Bakit nyo ba pipigilan? Nakakatuwa naman yung dolphin. But we started to explain na, ay hindi po, kasi po unsustainable po yan. The animals will just die and they will have to get a fresh batch exactly from the wild. And it's a very cruel process when you catch any wild animal. They will not come with you a wild animal, you goad them with food and whatever, they won't come with you. You have to violently wrestle a wild animal to come with you. And when you have the wild animal, to train them to perform, no, it's also more cruel because you have to make the animal obey. In the case of dolphins, you have to starve them. So you will see in the dolphin shows, you have these people with buckets of fish. The dolphins will only obey them after they give them some fish. Diba? So those dolphins are perpetually hungry in order to perform.
For EII, dolphin shows are not educational, but a sad display of animal cruelty.
To us, it's cruel, it's unsustainable, it's not education at all. So we were saying, if you see a dolphin that's bouncing a ball on its snout or it's jumping through a hoop, what do you learn about the biology or the natural behavior of a dolphin? You learn nothing.
There are administrative orders protecting the dolphins from being exploited in the Philippines, FAO 185 and FAO 185-1. However, Ms. Trixie laments that these official directives have a loophole which some people can abuse.
FAO 185 generally says it's illegal to possess, harm, kill, transport dolphins or their body parts in the Philippines. But there's a loophole there. There are some dolphins that strand. Yung na umaano sila, napupunta sila sa pangpang, no? They strand. And there are institutions, no, that when the dolphins strand, they will say, oh, we need to rescue this dolphin. We have to bring them in a facility for them to recover. And so they bring them to the facility. And when they bring the animals to the facility, they will say later na, oh, this dolphin cannot be released anymore. So we'll just keep this dolphin in the facility. And later on, they will say, oh, because it takes a lot of money to keep this dolphin here, so maybe we should use this dolphin in shows. Some of these operators in the Philippines, they claim, no, they're rescued, they're happy. Look at them, they're jumping now in the water, they're performing, they're being fed, they have veterinary care. But we said, that's a loophole that you have exploited in the Philippine law. There's definitely a law, but in the Philippines, minsan, the implementation is not so strict.
The Revised Animal Welfare Act, or Senate Bill 2975. Before the 19th Congress ended, Earth Island Institute raised concerns on social media about the Revised Animal Welfare Act, or Senate Bill 2975. They pointed out that certain animals such as dugongs, sea turtles, tarsiers, bats, and dolphins may no longer be protected due to the exclusion of wildlife species in the Act's definition of animal.
We just got a call from some friends of ours in Congress saying, oh, there's this proposed bill to revise the Animal Welfare Act. Are you part of this? And we said, what proposed revision? And so they gave us a copy of the revision, the proposed revision. And in our reading of it, we were so surprised because on Section 1, and they also informed us pala that there's already a Senate bill which passed in the Senate, Senate Bill 2975, which is the Revised Animal Welfare Act. Section 5, animal definitions, animal. Animal refers to domesticated, vertebrate, and invertebrate species under the control of man, which may be for food production, companion, labor, aquatic, or laboratory, including birds. The term excludes human and non-mammalian species. So medyo, when we saw this particular section in the law that was, in the bill that was passed in the Senate, medyo we got very alarmed because a lot of animals would have been already excluded by this definition.
This omission alarmed EII Philippines and prompted them to speak out, joining forces with other animal advocacy groups like the Philippine Animal Welfare Society, or PAWS, led by attorney Ana Cabrera.
No. Wildlife is totally out of the picture when you're talking about animal welfare. So sabi namin, hindi ibig sabihin wild ka, hindi ka na covered ng animal welfare. Kaya that's the reason why we rushed to kasi there's supposed to be a parallel or another version of that bill in Congress that was supposed to be passed. I think that was June 2 or June 3, we had that meeting in Congress. And we told the legislators in Congress, sir, ma'am, your honors, this bill will definitely affect our campaign, our advocacy here in the Philippines, because automatically this bill, if it becomes law, it will exclude all wild animals. May nangyari na po sa amin. We told the Congress hearing under Chairman Enverga, we told him, sir, nangyari na po sa amin. Sometime 2001, we filed a case against a dolphin show facility that imported dolphins from the cruel practice in Japan, in Taiji, no? Because there's such a thing as the Japan dolphin drive hunts, which is very cruel. So we filed that law, no, in that case in the Philippines using the Animal Welfare Act at that time, no, which was RA 8485 at that time. When the fiscal ruled, because the fiscal had to do investigations, he had to do a back and forth, he dismissed our complaint basically because he said, oh, under the Animal Welfare Act 8485 in 2001, it says that dolphins are not considered as animals, and Animal Welfare Act of the Philippines. We were glad that the Philippine Animal Welfare Society PAWS initiated a amendment of the Animal Welfare Act in 2013. And now, on the 2013 amendment, all animals, they specifically mentioned that all animals, terrestrial, aquatic, and marine animals in the Philippines are under the protection.
The revised Animal Welfare Act raised concerns among Ms. Trixie and fellow animal welfare advocates. To them, it wasn't a step forward from the amended Animal Welfare Act, but a step backward as the bill excluded wildlife protection entirely.
That is what got us worried. And it's actually, to us, a big step backward if you're talking about implementing a progressive animal welfare law in the Philippines. Kasi to us, to our reading, it may seem that the law would like to protect or even exempt, in my view, facilities that hold wild animals. Kasi wala domesticated eh. Even if a monkey, for instance, is in captivity for 10 years, 15 years, sabi ng expert, hindi yan domesticated, yung monkeys. It's still wild, no? These are protected. If you're going to talk about the technicalities of the law, hindi protected. A lion, we have facilities in the Philippines or private people who have lions. Even if you have a tiger for several years na, they're not considered domesticated. Domestication takes thousands of years according to the experts. Pero ang tiger, lion, you just keep them for several years in your in captivity or in your safari. They're not considered domesticated. They're still wild animals. So automatically exempted sila if this bill in Congress would pass and then they would unify this bill. So yun ang takot namin.
We often see wild animals in public zoos. But are there other facilities in the Philippines that also keep wild animals? If so, how many of these facilities exist?
Government says that there's about 200 captive wild animal facilities in the Philippines. Sa buong Pilipinas yan, whether they're public or privately owned. Dami. Nagulat din kami when they said that. And then when we said, okay po, ano po yung national policy natin in keeping wild animals? Or in other countries, they have a national zoo policy kasi zoos are for wild animals. And the thing is, we don't have any.
That struck like a sharp blade. No national zoo policy, no laws to regulate the roughly 200 wild animal enclosures across the country.
How do we regulate? How do we know that they are in keeping with animal welfare standards? How do we know that they're not abusing their animals? How do we know that when they procure animals from the wild, it's sustainable? Ang dami po naming tanong. And these questions, obviously with the absence of a national zoo policy, cannot be answered. And it's quite convenient for those who are keeping wild animals and continue to keep wild animals. So if you're wanting to have an urgent action or response to issues of welfare, kami sa wild animal side, ang urgent sa amin is to have a national zoo policy, a national policy for keeping wild animals, no? Kasi ngayon, kanya-kanya, no? I don't think the Bureau of Animal Industry, BAI, no, which is under the DA, BIFAR, has experts of wild animals that are going around the zoos or different wildlife facilities and inspecting them on some kind of a national regulation against a national. Wala silang ganon.
For wildlife advocates like Ms. Trixie, regulating wildlife enclosures is something lawmakers must seriously consider. After all, the amended Animal Welfare Act, Republic Act 10631, was crafted to further protect and promote the welfare of all animals, both terrestrial and aquatic, including those in captivity. RA 10631 amended RA 8485 to broaden its scope and strengthen animal protection measures.
The more urgent thing is to regulate the current facilities holding wild animals. And as per the government mismo, there's 200 of them nationwide. Yun ang mas tingin namin importante. Not to amend the current animal welfare law which was last amended in 2013. Tingin namin, so far okay na yung law na yun. But this current proposal, ako yung definition lang. The other groups, the other animal welfare organizations, meron silang iba't iba ding comments about issues about killing of dogs or animal fighting, horse fights. Meron din silang iba pang comment. But for us, animal welfare, people doing animal welfare for wild animals, ang komento agad namin doon sa is centering on the definition. Kasi obviously, with this definition of only domesticated animals, wala na kami agad in the picture. And to me, legally, if I'm a non-profit organization working in the Philippines for dolphins, it will put a legal question. So what are you working on?
Does she believe certain individuals or groups lobbied for the revisions in the current version of the Act?
I think there is always naman, as if there's always a law that's being pushed forward, there's a lobby group, and that's normal. Pero sa amin, on whose interest? Is it for the interest really of improving animal welfare in the Philippines, or is it interest for business and exempting the current facilities from further inspection or further regulation? So tingin namin yun.
According to Ms. Trixie, animal welfare groups are more than willing to work with the government and share their insights with lawmakers to ensure better protection for animals. The 19th Congress didn't have enough time to pass the revised Animal Welfare Act into law. That's why Ms. Trixie believes it's crucial for the 20th Congress to revisit, deliberate on, and improve the proposed bill.
If you really want to have a good animal welfare law, sabi namin, we volunteered in Congress. We said, please invite us for future technical committee hearings so we can contribute po talaga based on our experience of 30 years on how to put regulations for marine parks or facilities featuring marine animals. Right now, all the bills that were consolidated in Congress, sabi nila wala nang time eh. So they would have to let the next Congress tackle it. So parang magpa-file ulit. Kumbaga yung mga currently na na-file na bills, House Bills number 1396, 10435, many others, 5 yan. Actually, there are 16 nung binasa sa amin when I was at the congressional hearing. There were 16 eh. There's even a bill filed by Honorable Richard Gomez because they also have a dog and cat facility doon sa kanilang sa Leyte, no? 16 sila, so it took like some time to read all of the filed bills on animal welfare when we were at the committee hearing. So sabi nila, sige, consolidate na lang again on the next Congress. Mr. Chair, please invite us naman po so we can present you with our position paper po. If we want to really improve animal welfare in the Philippines. Sabi niya, yes. No? So I think for next Congress, we're hopeful that it's going to be more comprehensive, more groups will be there, kasi kami, we're working on wildlife, many groups are working on domestic animals, other groups are working on food animals, ito yung mga chicken, mga baboy, mga baka na kinakatay, no, for food. So we have a very comprehensive perspective on how to approach animal welfare, a very progressive animal welfare law in the Philippines.
In her opinion, what additional steps can the government take to better support wildlife conservation? Ms. Trixie points to so-called infrastructure and development projects which, upon closer scrutiny, may pose serious threats to wildlife, natural resources, and even the livelihood of local communities, particularly small-scale fishermen.
Our current campaign is to actually protect marine wildlife in the Philippines. The number one thing we're looking at is there's so many projects that's proposing reclamation. There's projects proposing bridges and other infrastructure. To us, okay yung development, we should. Pero at the same time, it should be balanced with protecting our wildlife. Kasi we have a particular campaign, yung Irrawaddy Dolphin campaign namin at the Iloilo and Guimaras Straits. Kasi sabi ng scientists natin, the Irrawaddy dolphin is an extremely endangered species of dolphins. There's about just 10 or 13 individuals left in the Iloilo and Guimaras Straits. And their habitat is actually proposed to be built with a bridge, no, that's connecting Panay, Guimaras, and Iloilo. Sabi namin, maganda po yung proposed infrastructure to connect the islands. But at the same time, dapat po i-consider din kung meron tayong wildlife or extremely endangered species doon sa dadaanan ng bridge. In the part of Guimaras, merong dugongs doon, bird species like Philippine ducks and other species of endangered birds. Please consider the development project vis-a-vis conservation. So na lang, Manila Bay, there's so many reclamation projects along Manila Bay. It's still a very productive fishing ground for a lot of fisher folk. So if you do reclamations, it will definitely kill whatever else is left of the fishing ground for fisher folk. So mawawalan sila ng hanap buhay. And mawawala syempre yung biodiversity which they rely on doon sa areas. Dumaguete, which is very near Siliman University, there's also a proposed reclamation area, but that area is also very rich in coral species. So there's a lot of coral areas in that part of the Philippines. And we're asking kasi ano ba yung need nung reclamation? There's a lot of land. In the case of here in Manila Bay, we asked them, ano po ba yung need to create a land in Manila Bay? Ano po yung itatayo? And then they say, oh, it's a entertainment center. It's going to be hotels, casinos, malls. And we said, marami na po tayong malls. Even some malls that you have here in the Philippines, minsan nga po walang mga stalls, walang mga tenants yung ilang malls, very, very big malls. Minsan hindi pa po sila napupuno ng mga tenants in their malls. And yet we're creating land to put more malls, hotels, casinos, entertainment centers. So parang is that the right trade? Is that development in the first place? Is that what is needed development in the Philippines?
But does that mean environmentalists and wildlife advocates like Ms. Trixie are anti-development? Far from it. In fact, she offers thoughtful answers and raises questions that challenge us to reflect on what true, sustainable progress should look like.
We're definitely not anti-development. We're actually for development as environmentalists because it's been shown kasi in other countries that if you are more developed, you have more capacity for conservation. So yung mga countries that have developed themselves are actually now also leaders in conservation. So sabi namin, so there's that relationship. We have to develop to be able to conserve more. Pero yung level of we have to have a basic question is, what kind of development for whom? Is it development for us if we say we have a lot of casinos? Is that the kind of development we have? Or if we have more hospitals? Or if we have more schools? Is having a fast food a certain fast food in your place a sign of development already, or should you have a tertiary hospital more as a sign of true development? Parang ganun eh. So it's a question also we ask our politicians na ano po ba ang tunay na pag-unlad? Sabi nga po namin we need politicians who view development as cleaner air, kasi when you have clean air, may multiplier effect po yan. Pag cleaner air ka, konti yung magkakasakit. Pag konti yung magkakasakit, konti yung pera or effort na ibubuhos mo sa pagpapagaling ng mga tao, konti yung perang gagastusin nila para sa gamot, and they are more productive pwede sila maging more productive in their work na makaka-contribute to national development. So, ano po yun hindi agad nakikita that clean air is necessary for health. and well-being of your people. If your people are well cared for, mas makakatrabaho sila, mas makaka-contribute sila sa national development. So, hindi po ganun ang pag-iisip, unfortunately. But although there are some very few politicians who view development as coming hand in hand, kailangan ng development. We have clean air. We have no basura. Wala tayong utang, kumbaga. Wala tayong, we're not drowning in debt. We have infrastructure to actually support what is needed by our people. We have hospitals, schools, vis-a-vis having casinos and hotels and malls, ganyan. So, being an environmentalist also, we also advocate somehow for our government to have a right concept of what genuine development is. And to us, genuine development involves a whole lot of conservation and protecting the environment. So if you have a country that is advanced in protecting its environment, conserving its endangered species, to us, that's a very developed country.
EII vows to continue championing more causes, including their proposed Marine Mammal Protection Act.
We're going to try again to lobby for a Marine Mammal Protection Act. And in the course of that, actually, marami kaming nakakausap na politicians. There's quite a few of them that's very progressive who understand the relationship of development and conservation. Aside from joining the Technical Working Group for the Animal Welfare Act, any revisions on the Animal Welfare Act, we're also going to propose sa Philippines. It's probably high time we have our own Marine Mammal Protection Act. Kasi ang Philippines, we have 26 species. Probably hindi pa probably have more. Hindi pa lang sila nadidiscover because the budget for research, research and support for our scientists, medyo kulang.
But how challenging is it for Earth Island Institute to lobby for stronger protection of marine mammals and the conservation of other marine resources? And what sustainable alternatives do they see? Options that could help generate income for the country without putting our natural resources at risk.
Sabi namin kasi, most of the time kasi, the people, the government officials say, ano yan, conservation? And naku, magastos ang conservation kasi when you have a protected area, naman, magbubuhos ka talaga ng resources, manpower to protect the area. And definitely, no economic activity dyan in some of our protected areas. So sabi namin, I think the Marine Mammal, in our mind, our concept of what the Marine Mammal Protection Act would be is to, first, yes, research how much dolphins we have, where they are, how they mate, and all of these. But at the same time, we also wish na when we do have proper research on how much marine mammals we have, where they are, whatever, we can also develop a very progressive dolphin watching industry in the Philippines. Meron na, but they're few. They're not so, I don't know what level of support they have, but it depends on the local government where they are. But to us, sabi namin, there's a great potential for a dolphin watching industry for the entire Philippines because ang dami nating dolphins. There's always dolphins passing through our waters at any given point. Our small fisher folk, kasi minsan may closures in some of the coastal areas. Instead of, not having any livelihood, baka pwedeng on the season where there's a lot of dolphins, they can convert to dolphin watching. Global earnings from dolphin watching, sabi ng isang study, which was more than 10 years ago, sabi niya $2 billion worldwide.
It's no secret that many people love watching dolphins, but taking them out of their natural habitat is another matter entirely.
The Philippines can probably benefit it, but we need a lot of research. We need a lot of organizing fisher folks. We need a lot of seminars, capacity building for our small fisher folk to do that. But I think we can do it. No? It's a very sustainable, animal-friendly, economic activity which we can engage and benefit from. No? Kasi it will benefit the small fisher folk. It will benefit the environment if it's carried out properly. It will benefit the tourists or whoever would like to see because it will educate them na, ito yung nature. If the dolphins show up today, very good. If the dolphins do not want to show themselves, we have to respect that. Kasi may ganong aspect ng dolphin watching. So that's one thing we would want to push forward.
Beyond marine mammal protection, Earth Island Institute also advocates for plastic reduction. As the saying goes, all things lead to the ocean, and that includes plastic.
We are the third biggest plastics polluter in the world, but we won't shirk from that responsibility. We will clean up.
The sheer volume of plastic waste ending up in our seas is deadly to marine life, including dolphins, many of whom have died after ingesting plastic materials. Even humans aren't spared, as studies now show we may be inhaling microplastics ourselves.
Many years ago, or some years back, you have dolphins that are stranding in the Philippines. Yeah. When the veterinarians cut up kasi patay na, so they died. So when the veterinarians do necropsy on dolphins, it's like autopsy for animals, they find out that inside the dolphins, there's plastic. Nakakain nila, and for some reason tayo kasi, like humans, when we ingest something, di ba, it just goes out. Sabi ng isang scientist, si Dr. Loella Dular, which is one of our partners for the conservation, sabi niya, if the dolphins ingest plastic, it just remains in the gut. It doesn't get flushed out. And then when he eats another plastic, nandoon lang siya. So it accumulates in their gut, and anyway, there's enough plastics that dolphin dies in a very excruciating way. Imagine your gut getting filled with plastics and it's getting compacted. They've done several necropsies of dolphins like this, and they see very compact plastics in their stomachs, which is probably so painful for the animal before it died. So we got into this campaign basically because most of those plastics which the dolphins ingest come from land. If ang aming battle cry now, or aming byline now for people we talk to for plastic reduction, sabi namin, if you want to save dolphins out there in the sea, please reduce your plastics here on land, because eventually it will go out there.
As part of their advocacy for plastic reduction, Earth Island Institute also conducts regular coastal cleanups.
We actually do coastal cleanups here sa El Pipitsea, sa Las Piñas, Paranaque Critical Habitat and Ecotourism Area. We do cleanups, I think, 2 or 3 times a year. Or depending on if we have a lot of volunteers that's going to help us clean up. Before they have cleanups, we have seminars with the participants na hindi lang one-shot deal. We're going to clean up today, but we hope that the plastic reduction culture spreads because we really need to save the dolphins out there. The victims are not on land. Although, sabi nga ng ibang scientists, we're already inhaling very small particles of plastics.
Scientific studies have shown that plastic pollution has far-reaching and harmful effects on human health, ecosystems, and the environment. These include the release of toxic chemicals and presence of microplastics in our food and water, and the disruption of vital biological processes. According to the United Nations Environment Program, or UNEP, the equivalent of 2,000 garbage trucks full of plastic waste is dumped into the world's oceans, rivers, and lakes every single day.
Europe, they found the breast milk that's contaminated by plastics. Here in the Metro Manila, our scientists said that we can already breathe nanoparticles of plastic, so that's probably in our lungs. Hindi nila alam, maybe it's gonna be 20, 30 years down the line. Pero sa amin, sabi namin, for marine mammals and other aquatic animals, the effect of plastics, as you can see, is quite horrible. The animals, they don't die instantly. They die in a very, very painful way.
According to the UNEP website, plastic leakage into the environment is projected to increase by 50% by 2040. This growing pollution seeps into our bodies through the food we eat, the water we drink, and even the air we breathe. In the Philippines, an estimated 2.7 million tons of plastic waste is generated each year, 20% of which ends up in the ocean, according to the World Bank. The country's so-called sachet economy and heavy reliance on single-use plastics continue to exacerbate the already alarming levels of marine plastic pollution.
We also support the refill revolutions where there's also mga eco stores that selling shampoos na you bring your own bottle. At tayo ata ang tingi capital of the world. Our consumption is also tied up with our economy. Dahil ito lang yung kaya ng mga tao. So minsan, pati mantika nasa plastic because they can't buy the really big mantika. Maski yung asukal, maski bigas, no? They cannot buy maramihan. So talagang ganito yung so for us also it's also a matter of improving our economy. Like I said, if we develop ourselves, I think we also have we're in a better position to also do conservation.
Improper waste disposal, combined with the country's extensive network of rivers and waterways, significantly contributes to the massive volume of plastic entering the world's oceans. Given the amount of plastic waste we generate daily, one pressing question remains. Are there enough recycling facilities in the Philippines to actively address the problem?
There is a law called the Solid Waste Management Act of 1998. Sabi nila, every barangay must have a materials recycling facility. Every barangay. Ang gaganda ng laws natin. Very beautifully crafted. Like this, itong Solid Waste Management Act of the Philippines. To this date, if you want to compare yung accomplishments of this law, if there's already materials recovery facility for every barangay, merong iba pero it's more the exception than the rule. And then if you sue the local governments for not having a materials recovery facility, more often that kasi there's an ombudsman right now. There's an ombudsman for the environment. We were so happy to hear about it many years ago. But then most of the cases that are brought upon the ombudsman, because the local governments do not have materials recovery facilities, they're mostly dismissed kasi the local government will show, hindi, ito, nagko-collect naman kami. Ito, nagsisegregate naman kami. The government will consider, they're already taking the initial steps on having a materials recovery facility. So, okay na yan. So, huwag na natin silang i-sanction. For me, napakalungkot nitong batas na to. And with the failure of the Solid Waste Management Act, kasi dapat yan din, may recycling facility, as you had said a while ago. And as a recycling facility involves a lot of technology and capital. We would have to build factories and then have machineries that's able to recycle different kinds of, kung plastic man yan, plastic. If it's a recycling facility for electronics, iba naman klase yung mga ano yan. So you would have to also study yung effects sa human. So kailangan may maayos ka rin na protection, yung occupational hazard for your workers and all of this stuff. Wala po tayong ganun.
A relatively small percentage of the plastic waste generated in the Philippines is recycled, leaving a large amount to be improperly disposed of and potentially ending up in waterways. Then came the pandemic, which introduced even more hazards, raising serious concerns about the ethical and proper disposal of medical waste.
I don't know if there's a large-scale medical disposal facility. Kasi siyempre, ang dami lahat and everyone is very, I don't know kung ano nangyari din sa mga basura natin from the pandemic. From gloves, for rubber gloves, to your masks, to your face shields, they're all plastics.
Do they collaborate with local government units to strengthen the impact of their initiatives?
We call it the Marine Stranding Training Project. This is to teach actually, ang gusto namin maging partners dito is local fisher folk because they're definitely, they're the first liners and our partners in marine conservation because their livelihoods and they live very much near the marine and with the marine environment. So we had this project of how to properly rescue marine animals when they get stranded. So kasama yung dolphins, turtles, and sharks because sharks do sometimes get stranded. So we partner with local governments in our trainings. Our last partner was in Gensan, Soxargen, and we partner with their Sarangani Bay Protected Area Seascapes. And it was a good training for them. No? Aside from, kasi sa kanila protection lang, monitoring and protection, pero yung active rescue and release of stranded dolphins, that's something new for them, and we had a training with them last time. So this is something we've been doing for the past few years and cooperating with local governments on how to do proper. No? Huwag nyo itago. Pag nakita niyo yung dolphin, huwag nyo iuwi. Pakawalan nyo. No? Because there are some areas where they encourage, because they have a facility daw, like in Subic, there's a facility there. So when an animal gets stranded, they are proposing to bring the animal to their facility. Our whole concept and worldview of this is that when an animal gets stranded, according to our scientists, the animal is probably very sick. The animal is already dying, no? And the rare chance that it get recovered, and some do recover, you can release it back to the wild. No? So there's, let's keep them being wild. Because if we are going to create a rehabilitation facility at every corner in the Philippines. Remember, we're an archipelago of 7,100 islands. It's going to be very unsustainable for us. So if the animal will die, unfortunately, then we have to, let the animal die. Let's not prolong yung agony ng animal if it's eventually going to die. But we make the animal as comfortable as we can. And we lessen the stress of the animal if it's going to pass away anyway. Pero yun sa amin, kaming tamang approach. What's the right behavior of us, of humans when these events happen? Yun ang aming training for fisher folk and other responders dun sa mga areas. So we had it in Subi, in Zambales, Sarangani Bay. I forget the other areas, but we've had several trainings now already. And the partners are normally local government units.
Ms. Trixie shares her thoughts on some of the most pressing environmental issues facing the country today.
This is a lot of studies. Are we getting better? Is our environment improving? All of the scientific studies you see, parang hindi. Kasi our air quality is decreasing. Our coral areas are decreasing. Our fishery, the amount and the kind of fish that the fishermen are catching is less and less. Our forest cover has definitely diminished. We have a lot of mining. We're supposed to earn from mining, but you don't see development at the grassroots level where these mining operations are. So what is to me, the answer is political. I'm on the environment side. We do a lot of technical research science. Pero sa akin, yung problema, political. Because if our country has the right perspective of how to develop, not just earning money at the moment, then mas less yung environmental destruction. What do I mean? I think, I don't know if Dana will agree, but we should plan our development. We should not have a level of development the way the US or UK or the other Western countries had their development. If you look at the Philippines, we're still a top exporter of raw materials, and that's what's destroying Philippine environment. Mining na lang. When Gina Lopez, I remember very distinctly, when then DNR Secretary Gina Lopez announced that she's going to close down the mining operations and audit the mining companies, bagsakan yung prices ng metals in the world market. Bumagsak siya because of fear that the Philippines will stop exporting minerals. So you can just see that a small archipelagic island like the Philippines is providing for the metal needs of the entire world. And that in itself, to us, that's the reason why we're getting destroyed. Kasi we have to mine and mine and mine to provide for other people's needs. When in fact, we can say, wait lang, we'll probably mine if our government had to my mind, right perspective, we'll mine just to get enough capital, enough money, and then we'll develop our own mining industry. So our mining industry can support local development. For example, I need more schools. I need more hospitals. I need more housing for my people. So the mining industry can be centered on these development goals of the Philippines, not on an export, money-oriented level of development. Ganun eh.
Her organization's firm stance against environmental destruction has earned them not just supporters, but also enemies, particularly those who profit from unethical practices such as irresponsible mining. Ms. Trixie urges the public to stay vigilant, continue raising awareness, and work together as a community to protect and preserve the environment in the face of the worsening climate change.
Sabi kasi ng international bodies, no, that climate change is on the way. If ever there is any environmental issue that ties everybody else, from mining to biodiversity to marine conservation, it's the climate change issue because it has effects all across these other issues. So sabi ng international bodies, we only have until 2030, which is like a few years away from now, for the irreversible effects of climate change to start happening. So my hope is we continue learning, we continue advocating on the grassroots level, on the national level. We keep pushing our governments to act, while at the same time we continue educating ourselves and other people. What will save us? The international conferences show. Sa tingin ko, governments will not save us. It's our movements, the people's organizing, where we will say, no, we don't accept that our government is not doing anything for climate change. We won't accept just dole outs or money, because you can have all the money in the world. If the climate change impact fully hits you, your money doesn't matter. So let's keep educating ourselves. Let's keep organizing. Let's keep forming communities. And let's always be aware of what's happening all around us.
Protecting wildlife and the environment shouldn't fall solely on the shoulders of advocacy groups like Earth Island Institute or individuals like Ms. Trixie Concepcion. It's a shared responsibility. Ours, yours, and mine. It's our planet. We can start by simply caring. Care enough to segregate and properly dispose of our trash. Care enough to craft and support laws that make a difference. Care enough to show kindness to all animals, not just cats and dogs. Care enough to be mindful of how we treat the world around us. And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Advocates, Empowering Voices. Until next time, this is Rochelle Rubio for 104.3 The Capital.
This is where the voices of the voiceless are heard. The Advocates, Empowering Voices, hosted by Rochelle Rubio on 104.3 The Capital.